It is such a pleasure and privilege for us to have and to be joined by six-time Olympian, four-time Asian champion, member of the IOA Athletes Commission, and the president of the Olympians Association of India, Mr. Shiva Keshavan. Shiva,
thank you so much.
Wonderful to have you with us. We know that when we talk about winter sport in India, there is one name and one face that comes to mind, and that is yours. And we also know, Shiva, what a lonely and uphill journey it has been in a country which is tropical to be the face of winter sport. So we can only begin to imagine what an uphill and incredible journey it must have been when people run behind everything else. But you have carried the flag, I have seen that, and you have carried the torch for winter sport and for many, many other things that happen. So as Sportscom, we're absolutely delighted to welcome you and love to hear your thoughts. After which, if there are members who'd like to ask questions, I'm sure Shiva will be able to very deftly handle them. So Shiva, once again, thank you, and love to hear from you.
Thank you so much for that very kind introduction. I know all of you here, some only by fame, some are good friends from a long time. But the sports industry in India is very tightly knit, and so it really is an extension of what we experience on the playing field. You have a team, and each of us has various roles and important roles as we forge the way forward for sports in India to make it a global sporting superpower. And we have one goal. So it's wonderful to be here and to have this opportunity to speak to all of you. We are living in a crucial point, a turning point of sport in India. I'm sure all of you are following with interest the sweeping reforms that are being ushered in the Olympic Association, and with it, the streamlining of our policies, which will have to do a lot with the International Olympic Committee, the government, and the corporate sector, and this new professionalism that is going to come in the IOA, which has been imposed in a way, is going to open up the doors for transparency, good governance, professionalism, and I think this is going to be a very, very important factor in the collaboration of the various stakeholders in sport. As you all know, there are so many stakeholders, and there's no real structure to all the people that are working towards sports in India. So hopefully this is a first step to streamlining that, and I'm confident that it's the days of glory for sport in India are just around the corner. A little bit about myself. I've been competing for India for almost 3 decades, 2.5 decades. I started my first Olympic Games when I was 16. And as Vivek mentioned, it is from winter sports, which is not really associated with India because people generally consider India a tropical country. However, we do have a huge following for winter sports, especially in the north of the country. We have 3,000 kilometers of Himalayas, which is envied by all the other major winter sports nations of the world. So there's huge potential. Also, winter sports, some of the most successful winter sports nations in the world are a country like Holland, whose average height is below sea level. So there are a lot of things about winter sport that need to be understood. And I think that once the understanding of winter sports comes in through people who have experience in India and in the international sporting sector, once we are involved, let's say in the process, in government, in IOA, in forums such as this, it helps to build those bridges. And well, speaking of bridges, I've very recently been elected to the Indian Olympic Association Athletes Committee. I was
absolutely, yes.
Yeah, so I was part of the former Athletes Committee in the IOA. We tried to bring in a lot of reforms through that. I was the only person who was re-elected on the new committee, and this new committee has a lot of power and a lot of capability of doing good work and really fulfilling the mission that we have been given. It's extremely important to have athlete stakeholders as part of the decision-making table, because this is the only bridge that we can really create between the administration, which traditionally has not been so inclusive in the process of decision making, and often that feedback quality control mechanism, which an athletes commission is supposed to do, has not been part of the previous process. So now athletes are there to stay. We have right now, there's a 4-year term, and this athletes commission within the IOA nominates 2 of its members in the general body with voting rights, another 2 members on the executive committee, and we also have nominees which go to each and every one of the Indian Olympic Association committees, from the arbitration to ethics to coordination to delivery for sports events. And not just in the IOA, the committee will be kind of the interlink, the network that for our representatives to be part of government panels, National Anti-Doping Agency. We have direct channels of outreach with the IOC. So it is an extremely important, I think, mechanism within the Indian Olympic Association that is being set up at this moment. And so we have a huge task ahead of us, because the entire system needs to be streamlined from here. And we are a large part of the electorate for the new IOA election, which is going to happen on the 10th. At least 20% are athletes or former athletes. So this is a huge change. And of course, change, as all of you know much better than me, takes time. The policy is in place. Now for the individual stakeholders, the groups, it will take time to settle in, to understand the way this new mechanism works, and to understand that this is the way forward, and it's here to stay, and how do we interact with it. So I haven't come here with any prepared talk, so I would be extremely happy if this were an interactive session that I can you can name a subject that you would like to speak about. Of course, winter sports, athlete representation, the changes in IOA, these things I'm very well capable of, I feel, handling questions on these subjects. So please, Vivek, if you could take it from here and give some direction.
First of all, Shiva, it's inspiring. Your journey has been inspiring. We've been reading a lot about it, and as a person who's a stakeholder in the sporting paradigm, we can imagine how uphill the challenge has been. But personally, and I want to ask a personal one, luge is something that I love to watch. And the reason I love to watch it is that it's that how 0.01, forget 0.1, 0.01 second, if your toe is not pointed in the right direction, if the push and the run up and the jump on, whatever, I mean, it's how do you actually, have you taken those lessons into your personal life from the luge, from the sport that you have excelled at? Has it actually made a different Shiva Keshavan out of you? I don't think there's a more unforgiving discipline in winter sport than luge.
Well, that's an extremely deep question. Thank you for asking it. I think uh, it speaks to the role of sport in our society, first of all, because as we know, sport is not just a competition. It's not just a business. It forms the building blocks of society, of a nation, and you transmit the value systems to people that that have very, very far-reaching consequences, if we're speaking as a country and if we're speaking as a world. For me, I mean, luge, of course, is well known to be one of the most challenging, dangerous sports at the Olympic Games. And I think one of the key points in this is that once you start the course, you have no choice but to get to the finish. So we don't have any breaks.
Without tumbling into a human ball.
Absolutely, absolutely. We don't have any breaks. We don't have an engine. And it's all about using the natural forces that are at your disposal, which is gravity and the centrifugal force, thanks to the curves. So even the centrifugal force, the G force we experience can be extremely high, definitely higher than our fighter jets, although they are localized. Oh, wow. So 150 kilometers an hour, 10 Gs, possibly 10 Gs in some corners. Wow. No engine, no brakes, and the distance between the walls, the ground, and the athlete is measured in few centimeters or inches. So it completely changes the perspective on the issues at hand, on the problems that you have to solve. Of course, as all sports, training is a big part of it. Training builds the confidence and the ability to deal with seemingly impossible odds. However, one thing that I have found is that the extreme concentration that the sport brings slows down time. So what seems like a 50-second run, or what seems like a blur moving past for many of the spectators, from my perspective, I'm able to see the expressions of people. I'm able to course correct by 10 centimeters to the left, 10 centimeters to the right. I'm able to harness that G-force and release it forward to get that thrust. So there's a whole lot which is happening in the sled, and it really feels that time slows down. And the only let's say the only explanation I have for that is the extreme concentration because of the speed, because of the imminent danger, and because there's no distractions. You have to get down. You can't stop and get off the track halfway. So it is a very let's say goal-oriented sport, because it gives you very few options to work with, and also you have to use the natural flow of things. You can't really go against the tide. So how do you optimize everything around you, and how do you make use of the current that you're in? So, and I think there are many parallels that can be drawn with everyday life, because the principles are the same. Once you understand that the main thing for me has always been to continue to move forward and to find solutions towards your goal. And if there's anything which comes in the way, there's always a tool, a mechanism to deal with it. So find that. How do you do it? Through your own understanding of a situation, through your entourage, through people you trust, through science, which gives you the basis of understanding. And this is very important to understand, that once you have a proper system, a scientific system in place, you're able to succeed. And it's very easy to get into a lot of the superstitions that athletes have to deal with, especially in a sport like this. I remember earlier on in my career, if I wore my left glove before my right one, at the start, I would be thinking, oh, I deviated from my routine. What's going to happen now? I've not put the Babaji ka tika. What's going to happen now? So the confidence comes with experience and comes with, as you're honing your skill. So I think that's the most important thing, to try and to train, and that's the only solution.
Fantastic, fantastic. So I'd love our members to ask. He's gone through 10 Gs of 10 times gravity force. So please don't worry. You can pressure him as much as you like. He ain't going to even blink. So go for it. You're not going to get a chance with Shiva every day. Anybody would like to ask anything?
Hi Shiva, Hakim here.
Hi. Okay. Go on, Hakim.
Thanks, Ashwini. Shiva, just I've known you well over the years. Quick question around the future of winter sport in India. We've seen how Saudi Arabia has already pitched in to host the Asian Games if I'm not mistaken, it's a few years away. But it's interesting to see countries like that suddenly coming up on the Winter Olympic map. Of course, sorry, it's the Asian event. So where's India headed, and what's your vision for India in winter sport?
Thank you, Hakeem, for that question. It's extremely relevant to us, as I think winter sports has a huge untapped market. If we try to draw some parallels, China, a neighborhood country, which does not have access to the kind of mountains we have, because they have very harsh conditions on their side of the Himalayas and not as accessible as us. They are crossing right now $1 billion of winter sport economy. And
Wow.
They have started their winter sport journey of development of winter sports just over the past two decades or so. This is well after the Beijing Olympics, when they had this idea to be the country to host the Winter Olympics as well. And this is without having any basic infrastructure. So they had to develop everything from scratch. So, and this is 90%, if not 100% domestic demand driven. So if you look at it in this manner, we have a lot of commonalities with China. We have a vast young population. We have an increasing standard of living, disposable income. We have issues with health and activity in our urban areas. And so a solution to that is to develop spaces, avenues for sports and activities in the mountains. And this not only helps with these factors which I just mentioned, but it also takes the sport for development to a different level, because we are reaching out to remote areas of the country, underdeveloped areas of the country, and we are making them part of our growth story. And in the process, we can make a lot of money, because winter sports and winter sport development in the Himalayas is an idea that will resonate globally. It would be the dream of all the winter sports experts, winter sports lovers all over the world to come to India. More concretely, the biggest issue has been having a system, an administrative system, and a governance system for winter sports. Despite me having done 6 Winter Olympics, as of now, we still don't have a single winter sport federation recognized by the government of India. In my case, this meant zero funding coming in through official channels until I managed to reach a level in which I qualified for support as an elite athlete on my own. But everybody else still faces that problem. And for young athletes, it takes such a long time to break into that elite level that most of the people drop out in the process. And so this is one of the main things that we need to fix. The understanding of winter sport is extremely basic. Many people in the government and the sports ministry would still today think that winter sport is a sport, and not that it's a general term, for a whole host of sports and federations and events. So this is one of the most important things, so that we can start to organize ourselves and we can start to have funding and sport development initiatives where it matters. However, there still have been, despite all of this, there still has been a lot of development in winter sports. This winter, we are going to have the first ever International Ski Federation recognized event in India. This is termed as an international event where all the participants will be able to get FIS points, which helps them towards their world ranking, Olympic qualification. Khelo India has started investing in winter sports and started hosting several editions of the winter sports event, although even this needs to be streamlined. The Asian Winter Games, which we talked about, which Hakim mentioned in Neom in Saudi Arabia, it sounds like a fairy tale, right? Saudi Arabia bidding to host the Winter Asian Games, but they have a plan. Of course, they're investing huge amounts of money for it. However, India is also on the list of future hosts of the Asian Winter Games. The proposal has already gone to the Olympic Council of Asia. A list of sports and disciplines is being worked on as we speak. And this is a huge opportunity for us to use a major sport event like this to bring in the kind of infrastructure. And thereafter, we will use this for the further development of the sport. So, I mean, I think this question is really, really far-reaching, Hakim. There's a lot that we need to do about this. And of course, the private sector has a lot to gain from this because we're looking at a completely new untapped industry, the winter sports industry, that has value globally in manufacturing, in events, in tourism, in a whole lot of areas, in research, in medicine. So that's why I'm really awestruck to be in this situation to try to make a difference in a sector that has such huge potential. But I hope that we can go in the right direction.
Siva, may I ask you a question? I'm Kavas Milamori. I'm sports director, Dhirubhai Ambani International School. I mean, it saddens me that every year I take a group of at least 30 to 50, sometimes even 60 children to Switzerland, Gorbea to ski. And, there is some conception that it's not ideal or not perfect or not safe to be in our own country. And that really hurts me. So how can we get rid of these perception, preconceived ideas, and how do we convince people that not only is it safe, but in case of an accident, you're treated just as you are in Switzerland,
Well, thank you for that question, Kavas. I really empathize with what you say. And however, right now I can tell you that we are starting to see a good quality of winter sports coaching and winter sports camps for athletes and for leisure travelers as well. And I'll be happy to
literally at 1/10 of the cost. Literally,
absolutely at 1/10 of the cost. And however, we still have three main let's say hubs for winter sports in India, which is Gulmarg in Kashmir, Manali in Himachal Pradesh, and Oli in Uttarakhand.
Oli. Absolutely.
Uttarakhand and Kashmir, the infrastructure has been mainly driven by government investment. Since also it's a border area, and I think there are more complications for private investments in these areas. In Manali, it is more of a private enterprise, so there's a private gondola already over there taking you up to 3,500 meters. But however, each one of these three have very good quality of slopes. If I were to rank them, it would be Gulmarg first, Oli second, Manali third, even though I'm from Manali. And it hurts me to say that. So a lot of ski resorts are developing around these places. Search, and there are also skiable areas which are off-piste skiing, which there's heli skiing, for example, cross-country skiing, which is available,
heard, but not for us. Not allowed. Absolutely no. Off-piste. Absolutely no for school. I can't take that.
Yeah, not risk. For school. That's for advanced skiers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, you'll be surprised. I've got awesome skiers because they've been skiing from the age of 7, some of them, and they do off-piste. And but in my presence and in the badge of the school, no off-piste is allowed.
No, absolutely. It's more of an adventure
Because
sport.
it's not covered by the Swiss authorities. It's not covered, the insurance. So
I see.
it's completely
I see.
out where I'm
I see.
concerned.
So
But when are we
similarly,
having the first inter-school tournament? I would love to participate if someone like you give your stamp on it.
absolutely. So I'll tell you of a tournament, and I'll be in touch with you to give you details. There's something called the Alpine Premier League, which has been started. It's a private tournament in Manali, and it's gaining popularity. There are a lot of representations coming from all over India. There's it follows this league model that has been successfully adopted from many sports. Amitabh Sharma, who's the owner of the ski resort, is the person who's organizing it, and he also runs his own heli skiing. He has his helicopters, and that's relevant because although in the non-adventure setting, in the non-off-piste setting, the chances of injury are less. They still exist, and it's still a serious factor. So they're not being big hospitals, let's say in the Manali area or in all these areas close to the slopes. Heli transport becomes an important factor in case of emergencies. However, we still need to develop the insurance part. I mean, there's so many tourists going up to the winter areas, and there's no winter-specific insurance. So that is something that can be developed. Hospitals, of course, it's a sports for development needs a lot of collaboration between government and private sector. So that is how we can make sure that all the facilities are up and running. So there needs to be a common vision that we work towards. However, things are already there on the ground. And this winter, I hope that I can welcome you and your children to Manali or to Oli. I can help you make the program for that. It'll be a pleasure.
So honestly, we have a slot from the 14th of March for about a week and a half. In December, we are going to Verbier from the 24th to the 31st. So in March, I would love to, look at coming there.
Yes. All right. I've made a note of it. And there's the national games in India is going to be in February in Uttarakhand in the second week of February, and the international ski race as well. So March, hopefully we still have good snow. Normally that's the case, but it always comes down to the last minute when we're dealing with winter sports because of this. But in Oli, they also have the snowmakers. So that's something that we have yet to figure out in Himachal, but that's the next. I know it's on the cards.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ashwini, you wanted to ask something. Ashwini, hi.
Yeah, hi Vivek. No, I just wanted to congratulate Shiva on this very new exciting journey that he has gotten to, and I want to congratulate all the athletes that have gotten to IOA. It was a long required change, so all the very best, Shiva. And I think you put it across brilliantly. I'm so happy that you're representing winter sport, which has really been neglected in the last few decades, and happy that you could come on board with the IOA and give the government, an overview of how we could take winter sport. But just to wish all of y'all, we're looking forward to great things by athletes in the IOA, and we are always there to help you out in any which way that you require. Anything from grassroots, you can always connect with me.
Thank you so much for that, Ashwini. It means a lot coming from you. I mean, we've been in this together for a long time. We've been campaigning for a larger voice for athletes in sports administration, and now thanks to the Supreme Court, thanks to the IOC, the sports code, these things are taking place, and I'm sure there'll be all of us still need to work together. So while we are in the IOA right now as the Athletes Commission, absolutely, thank you so much for offering the support. I'll take you up on that. and we'll look at various programs that we can do together. Thank you, Ashwini.
Vivekji, with your due permission.
Please, Prasanna.
First of all, good evening, everyone. This is Prasanna Chaudhary. Shiva, it's great to know about your entire journey as far as winter sports is concerned. We have been working with various organizations as far as sports nutrition and supplements is concerned. We are in fact working with Olympians, Paralympians, Special Olympians, but somehow we have missed out on winter sports, to be very honest. Of course, we have been working with Army for high altitude nutrition, but never put our extra efforts as far as winter sports is concerned. So what is your take that how much important is nutrition? Of course, I do understand that the energy needs and other things are much different than the normal sports when it comes to winter sports. Just wanted to have your take on this so that we can work together on this.
Hi, Prasanna. Thank you so much for that. It's an extremely important thing because, of course, sport, as you know, I mean, nutrition is key to performance. However, when we're talking about nutrition and when talking about the mountain areas, the border areas, another key concept to that this brings to mind is our army. You mentioned the army. We have the high altitude warfare school in Gulmarg. And we have Indian Army stationed in extremely severe winter conditions throughout our northern border, and nutrition that is now becoming a more, let's say, popular concept thanks to all the discourse around sport, is something that is extremely important to our defense forces as well. I mean, living in the border areas, I know some of the challenges that the army has faced during past situations, skirmishes that have happened in the border, and if sport can be a conduit to bring more information, products on the market to help all around, it's very important. And so nutrition and winter sport is when you're competing in the winter, the body does not only have to produce energy and the kind of energy you need, but you also have to produce the heat to keep your body at a right temperature. So the energy needs, the energy requirements for winter sports athletes is generally quite high because of this. And then, of course, winter sports, much like summer sports, there are so many different kinds of sports, whether it's an explosive sport, whether it's an endurance sport, and then the energy needs, change a little bit. However, I think it would be very beneficial to many of the winter sports athletes that we have right now. And for all of your information, let me tell you, apart from luge, which is sledging, we have ski and snowboard. And skiing is basically alpine skiing, cross-country skiing, and snowboard, which is part of the same federation. Then we have ice skating, which is also a registered federation in India. And there are ice skating rinks coming up in Leh, in Spiti, in Shimla, in Dehradun. And there's also one, by the way, in Delhi, I think it's called the Ambience Mall. And they actually have some competitions for figure skating and speed skating over there. So ice skating is a huge thing that has potential. We have ice hockey. Ice hockey is coming up as well in India in a big way, especially from their teams. Hockey being let's say national sport, even though not official, it has a lot of following. And in the north, teams they practice in the frozen ponds in the winter, and there's a lot of information and videos available online to see that. So there's ice hockey, and there's curling. Curling is another sport that is played on in an ice rink, let's say, and it's a kind of mix of bowling, bocce, darts on ice. So that's also a very interesting sport for people to take up in a easy way. There's not a very steep learning curve. Luge itself is extremely interesting, because apart from the kind of luge that I do, that is on one extreme, luge or sledging is the first impact for winter sports for anybody, and anybody from a 2-year-old to a 90-year-old can do that. So which is why I see luge, for example, being a great pathway to open the doors for mass participation in winter sports in India. All the tourists that go up to Manali, Gulmarg, Mussoorie, all these people who would take weeks to learn how to go on skis, they can just sit on a luge, and if there's a basic course over there, they can do it. And the investment for that is extremely low. So, coming back, I got sidetracked a little bit, but coming back to your question, Prasanna, I think it's, if I can put you in touch with the federations, if you'd like to work with the winter sports athletes, these are people who are not used to the kind of attention summer sports get. So I'm sure it'll be a win-win for everybody. They will be able to get access to good nutrition, and you'll be able to test some products on athletes.
Certainly, thank you so much. And we have been basically a part of a lot of expeditions, Everest expedition, it's Army expedition, or the private companies like ONGC and other companies which organizes expeditions where the training happens. And then, of course, the high altitude training, even for the normal Olympians, is normally carried out at Leh and other places where we do provide the very specialized nutrition to them. And it will be a pleasure to work with you, Shiva, to understand more about it and to help our athletes to complement their efforts in a nutritional way. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So Shiva here, Udit here. Nice to actually connect with you, and a big, thanks to the Sportscom office to make this happen. One of the things that would really nice to, get in terms of a document or a writing when you guys go into, a professional ecosystem in the IOA, is what is your expectation from Sportscom? As an industry body, we have 80, 90, members here. Each of us have a lot of contribution that we can give across so many areas, right? We have people from high performance to education to building intellectual properties to infrastructure to education, law, whatever it is, right? Manufacturing. So I think it would be a good idea to, work very closely with the athletes to actually work out a roadmap on what we can do collectively as a body and individually as a business, and try and open up these areas for our members and the allied community around it. The second part over here is that from a overall I would say 5-year to 12-year plan for winter sports, it would be really nice to get a kind of an overview on where you see your federation kind of moving, in terms of hosting championships, creating more infrastructure that will happen automatically once you start bidding for number of other things, and more importantly, talent development and the competition structure that, for example, Kavas ji also talked about. That so if there is a sustainable and scalable opportunity that we can undertake with you guys, then it is a lot of joy from a business perspective, because all of us on this call, whoever is there, we are from a business orientation. So sports should become an economic contributor. That's the way that we look at it. So federations do what they need to do, but I think it's important to have a very streamlined approach where then people like yourself and the athletes actually drive some of these federations to do the things that is required. So that's where I come from. I know, I mean, there is no question over here. There's a request that this is a better way to kind of, continue our engagement as well. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well,
Hi,
thanks
Shiva.
so much. Thanks so much for that, Udit. Hi, Vishwat. I'll just make a brief comment and then come back to you.
Sure.
Well, I appreciate your comment, and I think it's we can very easily start a discussion within the Athletes Commission, because it's on how we can work together to develop all these avenues. I think the Athletes Commission is a great start, because it has a diverse group of people. And they're connected to the ground reality, so we are able to have good information, and which we can use, and also the whole point of creating the Athletes Commission, the SOM, the Sports Persons of Outstanding Merit, and all these figures in the IOA is to develop is to create pathways for athletes to understand administration, to understand the needs of sport, and to interact with people such as yourself, and do good development work, and so that it may be sustainable, especially economically, and in all other ways. So that is something that I've taken note of, and I will bring up in the Athletes Commission, and I look forward to interacting with you on that. As far as winter sports is concerned, I've already have quite a bit of work done on this aspect, so it's something that I will work towards soon, and then send you some information that we can hopefully discuss and fine tune based on the targets which we have. So thanks for that. I'll be in touch with you.
Thank you, Shiva. Thank you.
Thanks, Shiva, for taking out time for this call. I know I pushed you in the middle of these elections and the nominations and everything. So thank you so much for taking out to interact with the Sportscom members. And I think echoing what you said and Udit said, I think I've discussed with you guys separately at different times, and how we can, as an industry body, come together and support the Athletes Commission, and how we can make Athletes Commission really powerful, in the sense that how it can cater to the needs of athletes across the country, and how they could generate funds and help fund really needy athletes. And I think this is a very good avenue of how the Sportscom and the Athletes Commission could come together to develop a program in that line, where the business funds the athletes in the right manner. Because I think a lot of times what I keep hearing, and the kind of discussions that we've had with corporates earlier, has always been that they always wanted a good governance structure. They wanted to know who they are funding, for what they are funding, and they wanted that the money should go out in the right manner to the right person. And if we can get that done with the IOA and the Athletes Commission, that would be brilliant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think this is going to build so much confidence in the sports system, which has been at an all-time low for quite a while now. But thank you so much, Vishpat, for all the support in setting all these things up. It's been extremely complex. There's so many issues that we relied on your advice to understand, and I think that is these processes that we're setting up, and that will continue to strengthen, that will form the basis to move forward. So I really appreciate you, and for anything, we'll look forward to working together, and this is the way to go. Once athletes need to be at the heart of the Olympic movement. The Olympic movement is about athletes. And so far, it's athletes who are at the fringe of the Olympic movement, at least in India. And athletes speaking up would invite repercussions. So now that whole thing is changing, and of course it'll take time, as I said, for many of these things to settle down. But the point is that we're all in this together. We have the same goal. We're one team, and we've already given sweat, blood, and tears for the country. Now we'll put on a suit and sit on the table and try to help out in this in this part as well. So thank you again, and look forward.
Can I ask
Please.
something? So with your permission.
Please.
Very nice to hear, Shiva. I'm Neeraj. we are from the manufacturing background, and very interesting to hear from you the comparisons from China and from other places, and that we will follow the same trajectory in terms of the addressable market, and that market is going to increase or boom. So from the manufacturing side, I think if we can have some few things which are required for the sport of the winter sports, and that can be certainly shared with a lot of other manufacturers, which can come up with easy and cheaper solutions and make them more affordable, and that may increase the interest of other people to probably come and enjoy the sport or play the sport, if not competitively, at least for the hobby or for other things also. So even that makes a lot of difference. And I was learning from you about the ice hockey and ice skating and things like those. I mean, easily skating is being produced over here. So all you need is a good quality blade and with the different specifications, characteristics required for the sport. I think we could do a lot of things on that. So if we can have something which you think are which can be easily done here and in a professional manner, or can you think that these are the things needed? I think that can be shared. We can share with the others manufacturing sports comp would share those with the manufacturing lobby, and they could come up with some solutions and they could show their interest over there. So that would help us not only just for exporting, but also would help us in import substitution. So that also will go a long way in that. And great to hear from you about the sport and your achievements.
Thank you so much for that. And I think you picked up, very keenly on, on an amazing opportunity, because the starting point in India right now is very low. We really have nothing, to put it bluntly, in terms of manufacturing for winter sports, and not just for sports, for winter activities. For example, all the tourists that come up to Manali, they have to go and rent jackets first of all. Again, these are jackets that many people are getting from abroad secondhand, and they have these rental shops lined all over the road. It's quite funny if you look at it and if you think about it, that we don't have shops that can cater to and that can manufacture. And some local entrepreneurs have picked up on this, and they're making winter clothing with what materials is available locally. So this is something, and the scale is quite large. There's a large amount of travelers to these areas, and earlier it used to be only during the summer season, but now because of better roads, because of better connectivity, the seasonality has increased a lot. So clothing is a very important thing. We struggled to find clothing for going for the Winter Olympics because we didn't have any sponsors. The Shivna race that was sponsoring IOA at the time, they could only give us tracksuits, which is impossible to wear at -18. So we had to go and buy locally just before the Olympic Games and put our stickers of Team India on it. So that itself is such a huge opportunity, such a huge marketing opportunity to sponsor very few winter athletes that are there to get your brand out. You mentioned about equipment. Absolutely. I mean, once sports like ice skating start to take root in the cities, there's already a large volume of people that is going every day that they're rented skates, but as you increase your level, you want your own private skates. They're fairly simple to make, at least for a basic level, and then of course it gets more and more complicated once you get to the elite level. So there is a lot that can be done over here, and there's so much really we have to do. I would look forward that we can maybe interact, exchange our contacts. I can put you in touch with right people, and help to drive this. I think once the development of sports happens in this all-round manner, that is when it becomes really sustainable, and more people can come and we can reach out, and not just to a niche sector, but to many more. So I look forward to, probably interacting with you on this, and my ideas, my experiences is always available for that.
Thank you.
Shiva, thank you so much. It's been most enlightening. And please stay closely in touch with us. Like Udit very correctly said, there's a lot of talent, a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge on this group, which can be used for the benefit of sport. And we'd love that you're connected and stay connected with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this invitation. It's been a pleasure. The time really passed quickly for me. And sport for development is a subject that's very close to my heart. Winter sports as well. It's a passion. And so, I look forward to interacting with all of you and trying to make this happen. There's a huge potential. And it's now that these bridges are being built, I hope we can work towards it together.
Thank you, Shiva. And
Thank you.
all we can say is more power to your wings, more strength to your elbows.
Thank you. Thank you so much.